let's also take in a perspective from the health experts who are joining us. First up is Dr. Ashutosh Gupta. He's the head of fetal medicine at Artemis Hospital in Gurugram. Sir, we've been talking about the rising pollution levels. It is a health hazard for a lot of people, especially infants, elderly, as well as pregnant women. Could you please inform our viewers how can and what kind of precautions we as individuals can take, and do you see a sort of rise in respiratory cases, especially with regards to infants and pregnant women?
Yeah, hi, good morning. And meaning thereby that probably we are talking about this PM 1.0, right? So this really can pass on through the mother to the unborn baby, right? So meaning thereby that there is an huge caseloads of an autism which is exponentially increasing. So meaning thereby that there was something around 1 to 2% was the incidence of an autism way back in something around 2010, but now it is something around 20% by 2020, and it is expected to increase by something around 20 and 30%. So meaning thereby that this pollution is one of the co-factors leading to this sort of an abnormal and neurometabolic behavioral changes in the babies which are yet to be born. So autism is definitely on the high risk. As far as those infants and newborn babies are concerned, anybody who is susceptible for all these things, like for a chronic respiratory disease, so meaning thereby they can have a long-term sort of an pulmonary deficits. As far as the reserves, pulmonary reserves are concerned, it can have sort of an cardiovascular effects also, and this can lead to metabolic defects also. So meaning thereby there is a multifarious effects for this increasing pollution. Pollution that we usually talking about, we really don't talk about PM 2.0 or 1.0. So this is very miscible in the blood, from the mother's blood, from her respiratory tract. For a pregnant woman, it gets onto the fetal blood and affects the baby, right? So the effect is very huge, and we really should not be talking about all these things, and we should be acting fast.
Indeed, and you've stated that we need to be acting rather fast. What do you think can be done to mitigate this problem?
Coming on to the meaning thereby that you really cannot run away, right? Because you see, when I'm sitting in my car, I can have my personal sort of an air purifier, but you see, it is all gravity dependent. We are 6G, the force of the gravity. So meaning thereby that you really cannot run away. So if I'm confined into one particular space, these air purifiers are going to work, right? As soon as I get out of, you getting my point? So whenever we are there in a closed space, this air purifier gets me the air in the range of an AQI in the range of 68, 70. As soon as I get out, as soon as there is a leak, as soon as I open up a door, either of a car or of my room, the AQI is 400 outside with a huge pressure of something around 6G, 5G and 6G. So meaning thereby within a matter of seconds, you are getting my point, within a matter of seconds, this all air gets distributed, and this air purifier has to work again from zero. Right, so meaning thereby that you really can run away. We cannot really run away. Air purifiers are not the solutions. These are solutions for people, those who are in bed, those really cannot move around, chronically debilitated people, those who are chronic, so COPD people with an acute asthmatic attack might get some help from this air purifier wala thing. Right, but anybody who is mobile, who moves around, if you move around from your house into your washrooms, into your kitchen, you are definitely from 60 AQI or 70 AQI, you're getting onto a 400 plus AQI. So meaning thereby that you are predisposing us to have more asthmatic attacks, right? So meaning thereby that those air purifiers which are being sold as a solution, I believe that they would not work, right? You need to have a long-term solutions. We need to have those long-term solutions, as a matter of fact.
Indeed, and this is something that has also been, in fact, earlier stated by Mr. Mishra, and I'd like to rope in Mr. Mishra back into the discussion. You stated that it's very important for different stakeholders to come together so that there can be a long-term solution, a plan that can be chalked out to ensure that these rising pollution levels are in fact addressed. But do you feel that Delhi is slowly becoming unlivable in the best 2 months of the year? October and November is a peak tourist time. The weather is lovely, and we see businesses booming during this time because tourists often come here. And right now we are seeing this is absolutely shocking visuals we are presenting to our viewers. Complete smog and haze covering the national capital. It is impairing people's vision. It is causing health hazards. So how will it impact Delhi in the long run, according to you?
So I believe if you're talking about a national,
that question was addressed to Mr. Mishra.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I think just one point, Dr. Ashutosh was talking about the air purifier. I'll just give you one statistics and then I'll come to your answer. Yesterday, I just switched on the air purifier in the evening at 6 o'clock. It showed 400 plus AQI. It took 45 minutes to get down to an AQI below 100. The moment I opened the window, it just shot up to like 200 plus. Just imagine the kids who are playing in the park in the evening at 7 o'clock, what impact that has on them. It is even hard to imagine in long-term impact on them. So I was just reacting and expressing my unhappiness on something that I saw yesterday. But coming back to your immediate question, I think, look, at the end of the day, there have been issues in the past where with very strong resolve of different stakeholders, people have come together to solve it, right? Why can't there be a green war room 12 months a year? 12 months a year from now for the next 5 years, there will be a designated green war room in Delhi, which has multiple stakeholders sitting together, kind of finding solutions, whether it is the government's policy on adopting more green energy in the form of, higher adoption of EV cars, whether it is planting more trees, whether it is coming up with very strict standards for construction sites in terms of the dust pollution, all these, whether it's the multi-pronged strategy on the industries that surround Delhi, what kind of pollution levels they should have and very, very strictly enforcing. I'll give you one example. Today, if I don't have a pollution control certificate in my car and a cop catches me, the fine is very high. Now, if as a normal citizen, I'm subject to such a huge fine, why doesn't the same apply to all the other 100x polluting agents across Delhi? I think the point I'm trying to highlight is there needs to be a very strong resolve among the various stakeholders who personally feel the need to kind of solve this and get together. Different states surrounding Delhi all come together and just work. And I'm sure that will is there to make sure that, getting back to your point, November and December, when the maximum tourists are there in Delhi, when you stand at the Raisina Hill, you can see the India Gate clearly. 10 years ago, when we used to run Delhi Marathon, standing at Raisina Hill, you could see India Gate clearly. 5 years back, you couldn't even see India Gate in October. That's the level of pollution that kind of comes in morning at 6 o'clock.
Indeed, and I'd like to rope in Mr. Gupta, who's been waiting rather patiently. Sir, Mr. Mishra has suggested that a green war room should be made. These are suggestions that can, of course, lead to tangible action, but there seems to be a sort of a reluctance on the part of those who do have the power to ensure that this change occurs. So what would your appeal be to those in the power corridors? What would you want to urge them through this platform in order to ensure that they come together, so that the lives of all of us living here, not just you and me, but also our viewers and all residents in North India, we don't face health hazards in the upcoming years and it does not impact us in the future?
I agree, and to the suggestion which Mr. Mishra made, a war room, but I think it needs to be not just limited to Delhi. It needs to be really tackling areas wherein we have been facing pertinent and persistent issues for the past many years. The issue today is, I think a significant part of the issue is also political. We have a different regime at center, we have a different regime at various state levels, and key in terms of transport pollution, separate ministries driving that, and for that ministry, the priorities may be different. Then you have imperatives for for energy security in the country. Of course, you have imperatives for you have many things. So you have energy security imperative, you have environmental imperative, you have imperative of taxation, which the taxes on petrol and diesel. So just a lot of things if you're looking at the larger picture, because I have been very deeply involved with the several ministries for about 2.5 decades. So what we need to do is to find kind of an LCM, or a least common factor wherein we can all get together. Okay, let's look at a 150 APM, and okay, the OEMs, this is your role. You need to do this. The state pollution authorities, this is your role. It's not about penalizing only. It's not just about penalizing construction industry. It's not about penalizing the automotive industry. We are all on the same side. We are not against each other, but the aim really needs to be getting the AQI levels to 100, 150, and then looking at a more aspirational future with hydrogen and even deeper penetration of EVs. But my underline in all my media interactions and our submissions to the government has also been that let us not just look at the aspirational future only. Let's also look at what's pragmatic today. What can we do today so that we can go out and run? We can what can be done today wherein our kids can go out and play, but not just about okay, we have this in our mind and we are looking at 20 years ahead. But so many things change in 20 years. Today you have hydrogen, you have electric. There could be some more fuels coming in. Of course, ethanol is knocking the doors positively. The issues with ethanol have been different because of the Ukraine war. The global grain prices went up. So it's a narrative which is not just, it's very difficult to quantify it easily, but really, we need to have a roadmap. And every fuel, electric, hydrogen, CNG, auto LPG, ethanol, you name the fuel, every fuel will have its own space. And only then can we get to an AQI of 150 as Aditya mentioned.
Indeed, and also I'd like to leave the last word with Dr. Ashutosh Gupta. Sir, what would you like to tell our viewers?
I believe that the government, they should stand up and they raise to this occasion. The Supreme Court has taken a cognizance in 2005, I believe, right? And then they have introduced a green cess. Right, so any vehicle which has gotten 2000 cc plus is the capacity of the engine was being induced by 1% green cess. Right, so that money that has been collected for the last 10 years should be distributed to the farmers as an incentive not to burn the stable in the first instance, right? And then probably we can work around for some other fuels also or more other. Secondly, it affects everybody. You starting from the CEO, the people those are working, or the paramedics, or the doctors, or the patients. It really hampers, and then the statistics have shown that really affects our GDP net in a very negative way. Right, meaning thereby that if you maintain this AQI, and it is rampant everywhere, with the coastal area in the Mumbai also, day before yesterday, there was a huge this thing that it is because of the rampant construction which is there, which they have identified that the road is being made in a wrong way, the AQI 320, 330, that we can expect in a coastal area like Mumbai. Are you getting my point? In Delhi, we can expect that probably the air is stale and therefore the air is not moving.
Indeed.
And therefore you have that much of an AQI. Right, but it is everywhere. Indore, Kanpur, you go to any suburb areas, it is still there, because then they are burning the pet coal, right? And so the temperature is right. So meaning thereby that probably now they should incentivize, and they know all these things, right? As being a doctor, I can tell you that it has got a devastating effect, right? Pulmonary people, they are working overwhelmed. It works like in Corona, right? So everybody is meaning that you cannot shut down the schools. Anybody who is sitting at home is absolutely predisposed to this. You are asking them not to do an outdoor activities, but the AQI is similar in house also. Right, anybody who is sitting in house, definitely they are being subjected to this huge hazardous 999,000 AQI. It's unprecedented. It's never heard of.
It's about to peak next week when Diwali season will of course take place.
if you can recall and remember, there is one lady who was there in China, right? And she used her vacuum cleaner. So she used to clean the air, and then she used to compress those carbon, and she used to make those carbon diamond rings, and therefore they be selling those diamond, those smog rings, right? You suck up all the air, you collect the carbon which is there in the air, and then you compress it, and therefore because of the carbon is compressed, she is making a diamonds out of those carbons, and she is selling as a smog rings. So meaning thereby that probably we are on the same lines, as a matter of fact.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.